Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Pagliai of Carbondale, the official coaches show of Saluki Athletics. Now, here is the voice of the Salukis, Luke Martin.
Another week here on the Pagliai Inside Saluki Athletics coaches show, which is presented by our friends at Pagliai of Carbondale. What a weekend it was for Saluki Athletics, especially for the guy who is starting us off here on the coaches show this week. That is none other than Ed Allen for his Salukis. A clean sweep on the start off the weekend. Coach, one, congratulations, and also thanks for the time, buddy. It's always good to see you.
Oh, yeah, I thought I was going to get a chance to do the introductions here, Luke. I mean, that's why I thought I was on here first. And then,
you know, I did forget that your agent, Jordan Cruz, did tell me that was part of the stuff going on.
Yeah,
so,
you're lucky I don't get up and walk out right now.
Just be done.
Yeah.
Just be done.
Yeah.
Move along. All right, opening weekend.
Yeah.
Clean sweep. I mean, we'll get into the games a little bit in detail in a moment. I know we were talking about coming on. I mean, Coach, you lost a lot from last year, definitely from an offense perspective. I think you told me almost 75% of your offense was gone.
Yeah.
So you can't take any weekend for granted, and the fact that your group started off with a clean sweep
it's
just a really good start.
Yeah, it's always good, first of all, to get a chance to play and gauge yourself against somebody other than what's in your gym. And I thought we did a good job of opening up this weekend. All in all, the numbers are about where we would like for them to be, but obviously there are areas that we want to improve upon.
When you look at from the standpoint of, especially Oral Roberts, your last match that you have such a back-and-forth battle in that first set. I think 28-26 was the final. You then lose the second set as well. So you're in a position where your backs are literally against the wall. What did you see from your group to come back and get that reverse sweep to be able to win it in 5 sets?
Well, I mean, I think as much as anything, just being able to understand how you have to approach opponents and how you have to adjust your game based on what the opponent capabilities are. I think that was the biggest thing that we started to settle into, and then obviously started playing extremely well in terms of our side-out offense, got much better, and point scoring. And I mean, if you look at the first 2 sets and compare them to the last 3 sets, those are 2 different teams that were on the floor. And I think anytime you have the first match of the second day, or in this case the third day of a tournament, and it's in the morning, that's a tough thing to have to I think come in and concentrate and execute and do all the things. But I mean, both teams have to be able to do it.
Yeah, we caught up with you right before you had your St. Louis exhibition. So you had the exhibition, of course, now the opening weekend. It really almost feels like, Coach Allen, that your group has so many practice days where you're going through it and prepping, where you got 2-a-days before you even have a match.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then you have a long time to prep. So then to have that long kind of lead up, which I say long when in reality it's not necessarily long in terms of the month of August. But how did your team, you feel like, translate from those 2-a-days, the practices, the exhibition from St. Louis, to try to carry it over to games that actually counted this past weekend?
Yeah, and I think as much as anything, the schedule's obviously getting a whole lot better. There's less practice, and there'll be a whole lot less practice as even you move through the season. This week in particular, I mean, we've got 3 days to prepare. I think we've got a total of 4 matches over a 7-day period of time. And so there's not a whole lot of practice and not a whole lot of time to get better and work on some of the things that we've seen this past weekend. But, I was very encouraged by just how we approached the weekend. Both of our outside hitters in, Kelly and Annabelle did an incredible job of assuming a lot of the responsibility this weekend and carrying a lot of the offense. And, consequently they were all tournament because of that. But I was very, very encouraged by their performance, and hopefully it's a long season, and it's a tough season for outside hitters, and so hopefully they'll be able to handle the wear and tear of what it's going to be like to play 30 matches that way.
To kind of build off of what Kelly and Annabelle really did, I mean, you mentioned you all obviously want your team to have a heartbeat. How big were they in terms of providing that heartbeat for your group over the weekend?
Extremely, and I think Luke, as much as anything, their ability to understand the position and what is required of it. You've got to be tough as can be, because you're constantly hitting against really a setup defense against you. You're having to generate probably more points than any other position on the floor, and we're working to try to get more production out of the middle, and will as we move through the season. But I think just handled things from a tough perspective about as well as I could ask them to.
You'll this weekend, of course, have the Saluki Bash this weekend at home inside Banterra, which is always great to get inside Banterra and have an invitational and play on that court. But in terms of having these tournaments on weekends where you're going on the road, neutral sites, how important are these weekends, Coach Allen? One, yes, you're getting the reps. You want to, of course, have these competitions. But to get your team kind of isolated, to get them on the road, to really build those team chemistry things that you can do at home, but it's different when you're on a bus and you're traveling and you're with each other on the road.
Well, I mean, the nice thing about being on the road is I have a chance to sequester the team, right? I mean, they're pretty much on our schedule with things, and you can control, some of the things that maybe you can't control as much at home when they are involved more with friends and where they live and all of that. And so you don't get necessarily some of the camaraderie or the team building that you do get on the road, but it'll be nice to be able to sleep in your own bed and be able to compete here in front of our own fans as well.
Anna Jaworski, of course, we talked about when we did our preseason chat with you, and Anna was on the all-tournament team as well over this past weekend. Yeah. Again, just one of those ladies for you that's been through the grind here. She's seen it when the days maybe were hard to really get through to now. She told me she really wants to leave this place better than she found it. She wants to help get this team to compete in the upper half of the league and be a team that can knock off a Northern Iowa and a Drake this year. For you, how big of a role is she going to continue to play for your group throughout this year, and how big she was this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, she's the nice thing about Anna is she's assumed whatever role that we've asked of her, and that has been a variety of things in her 4-year career, and we clearly have established it as one of the best 3 or 4 teams in the league. I mean, we finished 3rd or 4th the last 2 years, and when she came in as a freshman, we were dead last. So we've been able to build that to where I do think that we're consistently going to be one of the best 3 or 4 teams in this league, and that's what the goal is, as well as constantly competing to win a championship.
Now, when you have those long bus rides, Coach Allen, are you the one that puts a movie in for the girls and say this is what we're watching, or do you do your own thing and let them figure out how your travel plans?
It's funny, the world of technology now allows everybody to go into their own space and their own world, and they watch whatever they want to watch, and they're on Snapchat and other things that I don't even know how to access to be able to do things, but. No, I mean, it's funny because that's the way it used to be, Luke. I mean, you got in a bus and, we put a movie on, everybody watched the same movie, and now we've got, the excess of so many things that everybody watches on the streaming service that they have, whatever it is they want to be able to see. But, the opportunity to spend time together at the dinner table and the meals, all of it, you can't get that at home like you do on the road. And I think it's great that we had a chance to start the season off on the road and be able to deal with some of those things. And a tournament that was a longer tournament. We played on 3 consecutive days. A lot of tournaments are 2 days, and so it was even a longer period of time, and it was better too because we only had 1 match on each day, and so we were able to handle the physical part of that as well.
That's what's great about this show that you're coming on. We're streaming on all the platforms you're on at all times, which is Facebook, X, YouTube. I mean, you're on all of those, constantly. I mean, that's why I was shocked you had time to come on, because normally you're always scrolling.
The sad thing about it is, Luke, I didn't even know I was on them.
Now you are. Now you're officially on in some way.
In some way, maybe I ought to watch myself sometime. I don't know. If people ask me if I ever read or get on the website or anything else, and I'm like, well, why would I do that? I live it.
You saw it.
I'm kind of here.
Yeah,
it doesn't get any more factual than where we're sitting right now.
Absolutely. Before we get to this weekend, Coach Allen, just kind of recapping again a little bit over this past weekend, what were some of the main message of your group is saying, hey, it's great, got all 3 matches, that's what the goal is, but these are the areas that we need to focus on and continue to improve on as we go into this weekend.
The thing is, I've been watching video for really the last day, Luke, and usually I end up more upset by watching the video than happy because you're always looking at ways to improve. But, there are ways for us to improve in every facet of our play, and that's the good news because you're able to win and you see that there needs to be dramatic improvements. But I think, our ability, I think the thing that I hammered home more this weekend and where we've got to continue to evolve is that every opponent's different, and we don't play each opponent the same way. And so our abilities to adjust our style, our game, to really take advantage of some of the things that they don't do so well, and really spend more time there than just trying to play everybody the same way.
Well, as you mentioned, this past weekend you had a match per day. Obviously, this weekend you get Jackson State and Memphis on Friday, then you'll have Eastern Illinois on Saturday. Just looking towards the weekend, what do you like about this tournament in terms of what all the different teams are going to bring you and the challenge of now? You will have to go through that kind of first challenge of the year where you got 2 matches in a day on Friday.
Yeah, we will on Friday, and, Jackson State comes in there, I think, 2-1, and will be a highly competitive team within their league. I think they won the league last year and got the NCAA bid, if I'm not mistaken. And then you're looking at a Memphis team that comes out of the American that's a very good team, and a league that's a very good volleyball league. And it's Brindley, one of our middles, her father coaches there, Sean, and so
Cool.
that'll be a fun experience, I think, for both of them as well, as long as the right team wins now. So, but then Eastern Illinois, that I think they lost a total of 3 matches last year, and unfortunately one of those was at the last match of the season, the conference tournament, so they didn't get a chance to go on the NCAA tournament, but was an NCAA quality team, and we expect them to be very competitive as well, and that's the last match we play of the tournament on Saturday.
I know you love the environment that you've really been able to create in Davies and that intimate environment, but when you do get inside Banterra, of course, it's a place that is very special to Saluki Nation and fans.
Yeah.
Just what is that opportunity like for your program to have, a couple weekends a year where you get an opportunity to play in Banterra?
Well, I mean, it's nice to come over here and have the space for the visiting teams, but you're right. I mean, I think the downside is you're playing in a place where if you had 1,000 fans, you'd wonder if anybody was there, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's the downside of playing in any of the arenas that we have within our league, is that they're just not intimate enough that you can really create a home court advantage.
Well, Coach, I didn't let you do the introduction, but do you want to do the close the break?
No, I'm not. I don't go second string on this, Luke. I mean, I either open this thing up or. Luke, it's great that you had a chance to be with me here today, and I'm looking forward to our visit next week. We're going to do this every week. Is that right, Luke?
We're going to do something every week.
Oh,
I mean,
we shouldn't have to do that and expose everybody to what that's like either. The thing that I'm shocking is we're live, right?
Yes, we are live.
And it is not often I'm allowed to go live anywhere.
And yet you are.
Yes.
You
see, I mean, the medicine works well. They were able to settle me down, and I was able to get through the interview without any outbursts.
You did an outstanding job.
Oh, I appreciate that,
You had
Luke.
a great job this weekend. Seriously, I'll be watching, being there on Friday before we head out to Clarksville Saturday morning for football. Appreciate the time, Coach Allen, and look forward to many more conversations with you.
I appreciate that, Luke. Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Once again, that was Coach Ed Allen. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by the head football coach, Nick Hill. This is the Pagliais inside Saluki Athletics Coaches Show.
What? I want to eat that maybe.
That's giving me like Ava. Yeah. That's Annabelle, I think.
AB? It looks like a really old picture though.
Oh wait, that's so
Annabelle.
I guess Annabelle, but I don't.
Oh.
Oh my gosh. Okay, never
Okay.
mind.
What? I'm sorry, I didn't read that in the basic way.
Larissa.
Sorry, my bad.
Brindley?
It's not Brenly.
I think that's Kelly.
Kelly?
Is that Kelly?
Kelly? Okay, Kelly. I feel like that's Kelly.
I think that's Kelly. I
No?
don't think that's Kelly. I want to eat that maybe.
Nice.
I literally knew it.
She said
I
it's
literally
not.
knew it.
Brinley?
What? Really? Kelly?
Actually, maybe.
Maybe
that
that
Jill?
one's Kelly. I'm gonna say Annabelle.
Yeah, I
I'm
want
gonna say Annabelle. Kelly?
Kelly!
Oh,
What?
she was being quiet.
Annabelle.
AB.
Wow, okay.
Okay.
Kelly.
Val. Vienna.
That's
Stop.
Is that you?
I don't know.
So yeah.
No, that's not
that's
Vienna.
AB.
That's not Vienna.
I think that's Ava.
Vienna.
I've
Vienna.
seen that picture. Ava.
Rumi.
My roomie.
Yep.
Ava.
Kelly.
That's Jill. No, that's Jill.
Oh, Jill.
Oh,
That's
that's
Jill.
good.
Hold on.
Jill. Is that Jill?
Wait,
Who else do we have on our team?
I know, literally. I'm
Oh.
cute. Okay,
Jess.
okay. Good job, Ava.
That's Jill. That's Jill.
No
way. Wait, but we've
Jillian. It's Jillian.
That's
Is
Jillian?
it Jill? I'm sorry. Oh my God.
Discover the authentic taste of tradition at Pagliai's Pizza, a Carbondale landmark, proudly serving Southern Illinois for over 55 years. Located at 509 South Illinois Avenue, their family-owned pizzeria is renowned for its commitment to fresh, high-quality ingredients and time-honored recipes that make Pagliai's Pizza a favorite of Southern Illinois pizza lovers. Welcome everybody back to Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Pagliai's of Carbondale. I am Luke Martin, alongside now the head coach of your Saluki football team, Nick Hill. Coach, thanks so much for stopping by. Sorry you had to clean off the mic a little bit there from Ed Allen.
Hey, going 3-0 on the weekend. He gets first up, and no, I've really enjoyed getting to know Coach. I mean, I've told him multiple times he can come coach linebackers or
No doubt.
fullbacks or whatever. I mean, the toughness and the old school mentality and just a lot of wisdom, like from him in the building. I mean, he's been a lot of stops, coached a lot of great teams from building them up and what it takes. I mean, he just has a good presence about himself. I've really enjoyed him.
It's a great testament, too, I know, to just the culture here within that all of you guys have as coaches. But what's great is where you go in the Coach Nagy's office, your office, you see a lot, Coach Sewell, Coach Allen, whomever. A lot of coaches come to you, talk to you, have that relationship with you. Like, I know that's really special for you to have that connection. It's not just – you're not one of those guys, and I don't think anyone here is one of those coaches that when you get in your season, yeah, you can get in your bubbles and kind of go within your schedule, but you still really enjoy that time to connect to the other coaches.
Well, I think you have to have that, and I think that there's, when you sit in that seat, or whether it's an assistant coach, probably relying on other assistants too, how to handle this or the frustrations of that, but for sure. Throughout the season of checking on each other and or going to them with, ideas or what do you do with your team in these situations, and to have great people in the building helps.
Well, let's get to your team, Coach Hill. I know it wasn't the result that you wanted over the weekend. You always look at that as an opportunity of, man, a chance to get a really good FBS win. But as we talked about after the game, and I felt the way even more so just rewatching the game on Sunday, really tipped the cap to BYU. I thought Coach Satake and his team, they were 100% absolutely motivated, took you guys as serious as they would any team on their schedule. And sometimes that happens. You just got to tip your cap to the team playing really well, and I thought BYU did that with you.
No, I think you're right. Obviously, we've got to do some things to create them to not play well, and that's what we always have to go back and watch. Obviously, you know what you're up against going on the trip. I think that some of the takeaways, like I told Coach and I told our team and staff, is they were well coached, and there was really on both sides of all the football. I mean, they had 3 penalties for 15 yards. They didn't turn the football over. They didn't have substitution errors or busted plays and first game things like where, hey, we're playing an FCS opponent, and that I felt like they were dialed in, and they have a good team. I think the quarterback, we'll see, just like they will how good we are at the end of the year. But I think if the quarterback plays at that level, there was a few plays that they probably did a few more, 7-man protections with some of our pressures and being an aggressive team where they were like, we're not going to let them get home. We're going to leave some of these big guys in here to protect. So it was hard to get home on some of those things, and he did a nice job delivering the football. I mean, the first deep pass, they caught us in a really good play and a coverage that was tough on CJ in that position. And then the second deep ball was just a really heck of a play.
Yeah.
It's one that single high defense, you're usually not throwing that, but the trust that he had to go put it in the spot and the receiver to come down with that thing, those were two big plays in the game. And but I felt like for us, when you watch the tape, and I referenced this after the game, is that we didn't have a lot of those plays either, where it was, in the biggest environment that I've ever coached in or our team has been in. That was an incredible college football atmosphere, from the pregame to I don't even know how many students, 10, 15,000 students in the student section before we even come out for warm-ups, and then a sold-out crowd, and the operations of the thing was awesome with the crowd noise and the so for us to settle in, no pre-snap penalty. We had one pre-snap penalty, but it wasn't even because of the noise. It was emotion, and so us handling the whole environment, like I think as a coach, sometimes you have to take a step back and how are we handling these things that we really emphasize. Communication on defense, it wasn't because we were misaligned or busting the coverage and here goes an easy one, and we look out of sorts. So I think those are the things that we have to build off of, and then get some things corrected from the coaches to the players. Some things that now we finish those drives. The first drive of the game is just how our game goes. Especially when you're playing a good team. If we're able to connect on that first deep ball to Keontae's, he's getting held. I think it's hard for the rest. First play of the game called pass interference. I think later in the game they probably call that. They hold him. I mean, shoulder pad is out, and but it's one of those like one-on-one situation. If you can hit that, and then our first fourth, fifth snap of the game, Ubaid comes in and forces a fumble. It hits Chris Presso in the face mask. If our sideline and the momentum comes right to us, and we're at midfield now. Instead, they go down to pick up 2 fourth down conversions to score, but we were making them work. And so definitely, when I say disappointed in the loss, I think we wouldn't have the right mentality if we ever go into a game and we're not disappointed in the locker room after a loss if we're playing Georgia or whoever we're playing. And so that's natural, but I think our team has responded. We had a good practice today, and there's got to be a sense of urgency and a hunger for us to go out and get win one this week.
It's one of those things, Coach Hill, as you kind of alluded to, is you've always been somebody whenever I ask you, hey, what's kind of a key aspect of the game is getting off to a good start. A key, and you're always like, well, yeah, we'd all love to get off to great starts, but you don't want to say, hey, we need to get off to a great start. And if you don't, your team feels like, oh, my goodness, what are we going to do the rest of the way? But further your point is, man, if that ball does just get one hop to go your way, if you convert on just one of those fourth downs, that's where those plays early really dictate the mentality for BYU, where it could have easily been flipped just the other way.
Yeah, for sure. I think they gained some confidence in that first drive,
No doubt.
A 14, 15 play drive, the conversions. And even on the, the 2 fourth downs with Jameer, the first slant, that's a tough throw and catch with a guy breathing down your back, making them earn it. And then caught him on another slant down in the goal line, but it's man-to-man, and Jameer is right there and punching at the ball, and you got to tip your cap to them on picking those up. And so, but I agree, early in the game, their momentum is real in college athletics, but for sure in football. And I think that they settled in right there and made some big plays and probably dictated how they played the rest of the game.
What were the biggest takeaways defensively, Coach Hill, that you guys have been working on here early on in the week?
Yeah, no, I think that there were some individuals that really probably gained some confidence from that game. I think up front, all of them, as a whole, I was sitting down with Antonio on Sunday when we got back in the office, and you think about the majority of the defense besides, Bohannic, Ubaid, and Ivo, everybody else, that's their first go-around as being, relied upon to play that many snaps. A lot of them the first time ever playing, from all those D linemen, the nose guards getting their first start and playing a lot. Caden Reeves playing the most snaps he's ever played. And then I really feel like the 3 young D linemen showed that they can be really good football players, from Elijah Gunn and Jamon Mathis, and those boys, flashed in plays and that's the first time that's the first game. They played in some games last year, the 4 games at the end of the game, but a different mentality, not first, second rep at BYU with all those guys. And then Chris Presto and, Ben Bogle, a much bigger role, who I think, played a really good football game. I think when we step back, I think at corner, we found that some guys, that was a spot that we'd not seen those guys go out there and compete and play. But as far as their competitiveness and the way that they prove that, just their mentality too, running on and off the field, being down a few scores, still going out there and competing, we can build off that.
Look, I think Chase Roberts was a heck of a receiver, and he showed it over the weekend, and that receiving corps, Parker Kingston too. I mean, they have some just really talented guys who are very detailed in their routes and detailed in what they do offensively. How is it going to help you, especially with your corners, and that going up against that type of level right from the get-go for a group, especially guys like Jameer, Jeremiah. I mean, I know Jeremiah's played football for a long time, but Sebastian, guys that got really good reps for that still may be, necessarily young in terms of those in-game reps as you just described.
Yeah, playing football is what gets you better. Practice reps are important. There's nothing like game reps. Game, full speed, the environment, all the distraction, all that kind of stuff. So, like I said, I think that we can build off that. I think, like, you're right, that was a talented wide receiver group. We recruited a kid that was in the transfer portal from BYU. So anytime we take a transfer, we talk to the other coaches, talk to their wide receivers coach this offseason. And we felt like the kid in the portal was a kid that we knew out of high school from Florida. And it was like he's a really good player. I think he can come, but it's just so that might be the deepest room on our team. He's not going to see the field this year, And so we knew they were going to be solid, whoever they rolled out there. And I think that they did a really good job.
Let's get to offensively. I know DJ Williams, in terms of running the football, was able to showcase what we all saw in terms of fall camp, and we're really eager to see him showcase it in a game. But there's a lot more to what you see in your quarterback in terms of how he commanded the team in that environment. What did you see from all aspects for DJ in terms of that leadership role on the offensive side, Coach Hill?
Yeah, I think playing our first game together, coaching them for the first time in a game, you have a good idea of what you're going to get just because you've been around them so much in the last 6-8 months. But again, the game brings out a different side mentality. I felt like the leadership was good. I think there was probably 2 plays that we didn't execute as far as just the guys knowing what to do as far as and usually every game you're going to have 4 to 6 of those things as far as the execution goes. So as far as being in the right spots, the operation of no substitution errors. In and out of a lot of different personnels. I thought DJ had a great demeanor on the sideline. When he steps in the huddle, we're down 14-0 and kind of smiling. And I'm like, we can go to battle with this type of attitude. Obviously, Chase and Jake and those guys have been in it for a long time. Abdu and so I felt like the mentality was good. We got to do a few things that obviously we could go back and put together a couple, early couple of those plays. Those negative plays early in the game put us in some bad down and distances. Those negative plays looking back like that was tough. We had a shot play dialed up and we take a sack, and then even sometimes at the naked eye, there's always going to be some coaching errors out there too, like where, hey, we didn't give them that look in scouts. We've ran that play 6 times and gave them different fronts, but what if they do this? The one negative run play there on the power read, we're reading the linebacker, and they made it tough, and you got to tip your hat to them. They made a play, but that's not the offensive line's fault, and that's really on them having a great call into a play. But it put us behind the chains early. It was good to see us settle down there then and go respond and score. So there's going to be a lot of things that we got to clean up, and that's what we're right back to work doing. They were back in here Sunday. Yesterday was a day off and no school, so pretty much the entire team was back up here in the building on their own, which is a good sign that they're hungry to keep working.
And kind of build off of like what you said, you love the mentality of your team and how they approach the week, but it's also how you want to see how they respond, not even necessarily – maybe like a day or so after, but even in the immediate aftermath. I mean, you could tell it was a disappointing plane flight. Like the guys, you could tell that they expected all of that in terms of wanting to win the game, to play well, all of those areas, and then coming back and just seeing the day, really that workmanlike type mentality. What are the biggest things really in like the days leading up now of what you really need to see from your group? Because this is a group that you talked about for a long time. You've really loved the maturity of your group since they've really gotten together in the spring.
Yeah, I think sometimes, playing a really good, tough game, and even sometimes a loss early in the season is what your team needs. When you really look up and down some of the Alabama teams that won national championships, they were one-loss teams. There were two-loss teams and find their way into the playoffs, and then it's like they're the best team at the end of the year. And whether that's something that it exposes early in the season that you need to get corrected, fixed from coaching staff-wise and schematics, or if it's waking. So we needed that tested right off the bat, and then we have to respond. And so we've done that in the last couple days. Now we've got to continue out the week as far as our preparation details go, and then really it'll be ultimately tested on Saturday.
Before we move forward to Austin Peay, I know we got Paul Geelan coming up here on the show in just a little bit. Paul's effort felt like on Saturday was really huge at times. Again, I know you don't want to see your punter as much as you did, but Paul, in my understanding, for going to be the first Saluki kicker, at least in terms of the Division I era, that is going to be responsible for all three of your kicks throughout the year. That's a lot on someone's plate, and for him to go out and do it really deliver some big boots for you to try to flip field position. And a lot like we talked about in the first offensive series for BYU where the ball just kind of didn't bounce your way. There were a couple balls that you wish maybe got batted around a little bit more on some of those punts and kickoff returns that could have gone your way.
Yeah, really, special teams wise, there were 3 balls on the ground, and as far as getting turnovers, that's a special teams. You can create turnovers as well, and we got to get some better effort out of our gunners, taking better pass down there. Really probably the one we had I think it was the first time he muffed the punt. We got to have somebody there to make that a challenge to go get on the football. And he put 2 balls on the ground. Paul had a really good day. It was almost like the football gods rewarded that shank, because I don't know how that wasn't a fumble on LaShawn. I would have been really upset if I was on the other side. I kind of smiled at the referee. I was like, I can't believe that they're overturning this. He made a guy miss, and the ball was fumbling around. They never really had control, I guess, by rule. But that was probably the worst rep. But man, having a great punter can be a huge asset for your team. Flipping the field, the hang time and putting guys into tough situations just really is an asset for your defense, and making teams drive the length of the field. And I was proud of Paul. That's his first Division I game as well. He's never been close to playing in that environment. Backed up, and some of those, in the student sections, loud, you can't hear. His parents were in town, hadn't seen them in a long time. So as far as his focus went, I was proud of him.
On the other side of it, too, I know our fans didn't get a chance to see it in terms of him being able to kick field goals, but his leg, not just going to help you in the punting game, but I think at point in times this year where, especially in those games, points are going to be at a premium, I think Paul's really going to show his wealth there, too.
Yeah, I don't know what you were at most of the practices. About 10 days out from the game, maybe 2 weeks, something just kind of clicked. And obviously not being from here, the United States, you can imagine being a college kid, overseas going to college. There's a lot of things that are on your mind, and getting comfortable in a new environment and with a new team and everything. I felt like there was just almost a day right there where it was just like everything settled down for him.
Yeah.
And really started to give us confidence as coaches and expected that out of them.
Well, let's look towards Austin P. Obviously, new coach, new regime, new team as well. They're really going to be eager to get back at home after having a result that they didn't like in terms of week one. So I know you're going to expect the best from Austin P this weekend. What stands out about their group just in your initial prep for them this week?
Yeah, I think I've learned that over my 9 years of being a head coach is that the respect that you got to have for every opponent. I mean, we're 0-1 that is hungry and desperately needs to win. And whether that's like a playoff mentality where it's win or go home, but we've got to that's what I challenge the guys with this week is to have that sense of urgency about ourselves. I think it's still early in the season. Obviously a new staff. We played them last year, but almost a complete new team, obviously new schemes. Similar to going into a first game as far as things that you could get, things that they may have wanted to get to. You're playing Louisville, maybe a different type of mindset on how to win that game. The plan to win that thing is going to be different than it is to play us or whatever it is. So we have to be focused on ourselves and the way that we execute, the way that we play, the physicality in which we play, and that's got to be the focus. But they have our complete attention. I think they have some really good skill players. They have some good team speed. They're going to create some issues defensively with the amount of moving pieces and the 3 safety looks that we've played against before. But if you're not dialed in, it can create some issues. And so we got to be locked into the plan and go execute.
And it's a lot like your team too. There's a lot of new faces. I know you do get 1 game of film already, but in this day and age where rosters turn over so quite much, like, yeah, you played them a year ago and you can turn on the film, but I mean, how much can you even really go back to last year's game in terms of preparation for this year? I know the coaching staff change, of course, adds to that too.
Yeah, probably that much. I mean, it's not as far as our breakdowns and things like that goes. I think sometimes coaches get in their own way as far as chasing what they could or couldn't do. I think that we have to take what we've seen. We have to put together a great plan. We have to worry about executing ourselves instead of putting so much focus on what they could or couldn't do. We've got to be sound in what we do. That's what training camp is for. That's what's good about going against our offense and our defense is that we're going to give you multiple personnels, multiple formations, play at different speeds. So our defense has seen a lot of that, so we can react and adjust in a game. And then the same thing defensively. We see a 4 down front. We see a 3 down front. We see multiple different pressures from multiple different layers of the defense. And so then sometimes it's in game. Okay, this is what their plan is. Let's settle down. We have the tools in our toolbox to adjust to this.
Coach, appreciate the time. Excited to get back in. It's rare where you have first 2 games on the road to start the year. Looking forward to where we can just walk across and get ready for a game at Saluki Stadium. But nonetheless, it's never a bad afternoon when Saluki football is involved. Appreciate the time, Coach. Looking forward to this weekend.
I appreciate it, Luke.
Once again, we'll take a timeout. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Paul Geelan here on the show. This is Inside Saluki Athletics from Pagliai's Pizza of Carbondale.
Williams keeps it on the left hash, cuts out outside. He's to the 25-20, 15-10, above the far sideline to the end zone, and he's in. Touchdown, DJ Williams. Williams with a shot, far sideline, has a man there, it's up, caught by Keontez Lewis. K-Lo makes the grab, the transfer from Wisconsin. He'll run with room, 30, 35, first down and more. Dives ahead near the 40-yard line. Williams will now run it again, near side 40, cuts up to the 45, stays on his feet. Keeps it, comes near side, cuts up to the goal line, touchdown! Touchdown, Southern Illinois! DJ Williams spikes the football right near the Y in white in the south end
Pagliai's Pizza is more than just a restaurant. It's a Southern Illinois tradition. With new owners, Jason and Sula, an SIU alumni, they continue the legacy of excellence set by our founders. Every visit to Pagliai's promises the same exceptional quality and warm, welcoming atmosphere that customers have loved for decades. Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by our friends at Pagliai's of Carbondale. We welcome you back to the show, and now it's the time of the show where everybody's excited. Paul Geelan gets to join us, Saluki special teamer. I'll just say special teamer because there's multiple different roles that you fill for this team this year, Paul. But one, thanks for the time, man. I know the result is not what you guys want as a team, but just in terms of the environment, first game in a Saluki uniform, just what was the environment like for you on Saturday, Paul?
The experience was great. You know, the environment is just something we've been preparing for and waiting for. So it just felt like that was supposed to happen. It felt very good.
And for you, there was a lot of expectation, I think, that you brought to the program and what you wanted to see starting off this year, and having the expectation of really doing all three major kicks in terms of punts, in terms of kickoffs, and, of course, in terms of place kicking. I'm sure the missed PAT is one that is of a frustration over the weekend, but just in terms of overall being able to execute in that type of environment, what did you take away from the first game from an execution standpoint, Paul?
From the execution standpoint, we just needed to take it easy, just how we do it normally. So after that, we picked it up, of course, with the second PAT. Then we got kickoff and punt. You know, we just need to bounce back if anything like that happens.
One of the areas, Paul, it's been great to get to know you during camp is your personality. I know the guys absolutely love your personality. The team loves your personality. Kind of describe just who you are day to day, and you always bring a smile each and every day to practice. And, of course, you don't always look like a kicker. Like I told you, you're a pretty athletic guy too. But what in terms of your personality and just who you are away from the field to kind of give Saluki fans a little bit of access to who you are away from football?
You know, we are here, so we have to make the best of it, you know. So it's a whole vibe to be here at practice, games, you know, outside of games in the weight room. We have fun too. You know, we're locked in, we're serious, but with that, it comes a little bit of fun.
You mentioned the fun part, but the seriousness aspect of it. You know, special teams units can have a lot of characters, which obviously our special teams unit does with you, Ross, Chase, Tanner, the whole crew. Just what's that room like with all of you guys, and how you really try to, one, have a good time, but you know when it's time to get serious and it's time to lock in, you guys are more than capable of being able to do that.
Oh, yeah. So whenever that time comes, you know, we'll hit the field. We'll go through our operations. Sometimes LaHood is out there, too, to hold for field goals. Stuff like that. Placement is very important. Hang time. That goes for punt and kickoff. So that's what we work on.
You look at your numbers, Paul, when you were at William Jewell and continuing, you could see your numbers have improved every year. Mm-hmm. What's the big – now, you obviously played soccer for a long time. We'll get into that in a moment. But what's the biggest thing you've taken away from when you first really started to kick consistently like you have to now? What are the things you focus on that allows for that improvement it seems like you make after a full season of playing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you look back at every season – you just can tell that not every kick was perfect, of course. Yeah. Just like the games are not always perfect. So I always try to find like a tweak that I can do and improve on so that next year or next games even get better.
As you look throughout your career and obviously being able to come here to SIU, there's a lot of great things that you've been able to have and learn. What's been the biggest thing from Coach Frame and in terms of the special teams unit this year that's helped you progress, that's gotten you to a point where you can be reliable in so many different areas?
Yeah, that you have to be detailed and very consistent. You know, one small mistake can make a very big impact on the game. So that's why I have to be very detailed. Actually, we all have to be very detailed because it could have a huge consequence not being detailed and consistent, of course.
Coach Hill brought up that there was maybe a time during fall camp where it just seemed like your comfortability level and in terms of just something clicked with you where it was like, all right, like it's go time. For you, when was the time that you kind of felt like, all right, like I'm extremely, I hate to use the term comfortable because comfortable is not a great word because you guys are always in terms of building that edge and being ready to go. But when was the point where you're like, I'm really ready for this year to showcase the type of skill set you've already showed to us through 1 week?
I would say when we had the pads on, nice weather outside, it's hot outside. Everyone brings the energy, the juice. We're there, That's when I was like, all right, it's about to happen. Now we just need to lock in on the season itself and not the athletic capabilities, conditioning. That all comes with it, but now it's really a shift of the focus to football itself. Yeah.
Let's talk about your path, one, to the United States. Of course, you grew up, you born in the Netherlands, have an opportunity there. What was life for you like, Paul, growing up? Like, describe the scenery, what it's like out there, because I'll show a little bit of B-roll here in just a moment of just where you grew up, but it just seems like there is just a lot of natural beauty out back home for you being a Dutch boy.
Yeah, I mean, school was there, sports were there. I played soccer while growing up. If someone had a ball, we just went outside and we made it happen. We were playing soccer all the time. And then we had the city and our town, of course. Very beautiful. We had water and the woods out there. So we would go for a walk, just talk outside with friends. Yeah.
What was your favorite part of just the culture within back home?
Very easygoing. It just clicked there. You could make friends easily and find something in common and then do that together. Have fun together. Yeah.
It's funny because I told Paul as we were preparing for this interview, and actually when I started talking to him, that all of a sudden, for some reason, right after I interview him once, my TikTok is just filled with tons of Dutch food, Dutch traditions, dances at soccer matches. I mean, all types of crazy stuff. So I have Paul to blame for that, no question. But for you, Paul, what's some of your favorite, like, I know I asked you this at practice one day, but describe to Saluki fans, like, what's some of your favorite Dutch food? Like, what's some good dishes back home that you really desperately miss sometimes probably here in Carbondale after a good practice?
Yeah, I really miss a thing called kapsalon. It's fries with doner kebab on top, melted cheese, some lettuce, and garlic sauce. It's a not too healthy combination, but it's delicious. And then, of course,
that's what's got in your frame. That
right,
food
right,
alone.
right.
Yeah.
That's how you grow tall,
Yes.
And then desserts are always amazing, like anything. Even bread itself is just quality. Yeah.
You mentioned the bread, and also, like, I mean, it seems like a lot of those good dishes, there's a lot of good desserts, as you mentioned. I mean, what's it about that culture that just has so much about it? It just seems like, man, the sweets are definitely really even sweeter over there in the Netherlands.
Yeah, it's just like a quality thing, and we take pride in that. So we just keep on doing it, and even improving, I feel like it always gets better. Yeah.
They need to name a dish after you at some point. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
what
a good one.
we got to work on that. I know at some point the NIL stuff with overseas is a little wonky, but we'll work on that. We'll work on that, Paul.
Yes, sir.
Brought up how, hey, if it was a ball, you really played with it when you were a younger kid in terms of soccer, obviously a long
Always.
time.
Yep.
I think 17 years is what you said, how long you played soccer. I know it was a really
Yeah.
long time. Like, what was it that drew you into soccer? I know culture-wise it's big out where you grew up, but what was your favorite parts about playing soccer growing up?
Ooh, just playing with friends. You could. It's only club, so we go out of school to club soccer. So we will meet new people or the same people from school, and that's how you really build up a connection with the same or new people, and just win championships, win games, lose some, but it's always a lesson. So it was always very fun to do.
As you look towards football, what ultimately, Paul, for you, got you interested? Like, what was like, you know what? I'd like to try football. Like, what was it? Was it watching it? Was it a conversation with a coach? Like, what ultimately led you to this path now?
So it was actually during a practice at Harper Creek High School, the high school I went to, the summer prior to when I went there. So there was a practice, and they let me kick a 50-yard field goal. I didn't really know what it meant, if it was impressive for a high schooler or not, but it was a pretty big deal over there. So when I made it, they all started celebrating and jumping on me. I was like, what is happening? And the vibe and the energy was just amazing. And I was like, man, the energy in football is just, I fell in love with it, yeah.
And then you transform, or I should say, you catapult to where you are this past weekend. You're walking out for warm-ups, and there's already 15,000 students watching you warm up at BYU. I mean, you talk about emotion of a sport and emotion of a game. Like, that's got to mean a lot to you to show how far you came from that practice to being in those type of environments like you were over the weekend?
Oh yeah, it sure did. And at that point, it just felt like it was meant to be. Of course, I had my goals set right as I stepped on the field. I was like, oh yeah, I want to improve on this. I want to do this. And now we're here, you know, playing Division I football, playing a big game like against a P5 or a P4. So amazing experience. Yeah.
I didn't know till Coach Hill told me on his way out that his parents are your adopted dog.
They are.
Parents as well.
Yes, sir.
One, probably just luck of the draw, but what's it been like to get to know Coach Hill's parents as your adopted dog parents?
Yeah, very, very fun, very good. And then you hear some stories from the parents about Coach Hill. Man, I didn't even know, you know, he was more into basketball than football at first. So that was good to know. You know, some extra information, fun facts. Yeah.
Probably nothing you could really throw back at him in a practice, right? You're probably saying, you probably just, you know, you let Coach be coach, but you're like, hey, you know, I heard this story, Coach, you know, about you. Probably need to let that go to make sure that, like, team doesn't have to do any, like, gassers or runs.
Right, I won't do that to the team.
Don't want to do that to the team at all. But talk about your family, Paul. I know, obviously, being far away from home, don't probably get the opportunity to see your folks and see your family as much, but how big is your family, and how often do you really get to see your parents, and when will they get an opportunity, if they get an opportunity, to come to Saluki Stadium this year?
Yeah, so my parents were actually at BYU, so they flew over to Salt Lake City, hung out there for a bit, sightseeing, and then check out the game, of course. So I was very fortunate that I could see them. And for the rest, I actually see my family like once a year, every summer for a couple weeks. So makes it hard, but it's a sacrifice for what I'm doing right now. And my sister and parents and aunt are coming over in 2 weeks for the back-to-back home games, so that's
awesome,
amazing. Yeah.
As you say, you know it can obviously be, you know, there are a lot of athletes that are in your shoes that don't necessarily get that opportunity, and how it relishes for you. Like, how much pride do you take, Paul, when you take the field? And I saw it today, and I actually didn't notice it right from the get-go, but you have the flag of your country on the back of your helmet. How much pride do you take in each and every game, each and every opportunity that you have to not just represent your family, but to represent your country and to be able to do what you do each and every day here in the United States?
Yeah, I take a lot of pride in that, because every day is like an opportunity to get better, do what you love. So sometimes you hear people complain like, oh, it's hot outside, or oh, I'm tired. Then I just say, like, somewhat jokingly but also seriously, like, hey, some people can't even play football right now. Come on, let's go. Then they're also like, okay, you know, he's right. And then we all just go for it, you know, and I take pride in that.
Well, I know our fans are getting a great look at what your personality is like with our team from a day-to-day perspective. But let's end on this note, Paul. Again, you guys went out to BYU to win the game. It didn't happen. So you're 0-1. How would you describe the sense of urgency that you guys have had this week of you want to get that taste out of your mouth? You respect the heck out of BYU. You know they're going to have a great year and see them to go do great things. But it's now time for you guys to get back on track and what you want to do and what your main goals are as a team this year.
Yes, sir. This is a lesson for us, for every single one of us. We need to get better, and we have shown some great stuff, but of course we need that win at the end of the day. And as Coach mentioned before, we put in a lot of work, but at the end of the day, people only see the game and what happens in the game, and that results in a win or a loss.
Paul, thanks so much for stopping by, sharing again some your favorite Dutch dishes, which, you know, this is during lunchtime, so you've made me extremely hungry, but I still got to talk to your position coach, Coach Frame, and then I'll try to maybe satisfy some of the hunger that you were able to describe when you were going through all those dishes. But no, Paul, it's been great to get to know you, brother. Thanks so much for the time, and look forward to seeing many great things for you throughout the year.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Once again, that was Paul Giel, and we're going to take a time out. When we come back, we are going to be joined by that man that we just described. Nathan Frame joins us, the position coach and special teams coordinator for the Dogs. This is Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Pagliai of Carbondale. Pagliai's Pizza is more than just a restaurant. It's a Southern Illinois tradition with new owners, Jason and Sula, and SIU alumni. They continue the legacy of excellence set by our founders. Every visit to Pagliai's promises the same exceptional experience, quality and warm, welcoming atmosphere that customers have loved for decades. It's funny because I think it's only fitting that the coach, Pat Poore, is calling me as Nathan Frame joins the show. Coach Poore, if you get this, anyone tell Coach Poore we're live. So this is a live show. We'll get to Coach Poore in a moment. But Coach Frame, yeah. Shy, Coach Poore trying to take up your time. What a shock. Nothing new.
Coach everything.
Yeah,
so.
nothing. Don't give him too much love, Coach Frame. Don't give him too much love. Coach Frame, really appreciate the time. I know we just got done talking to Paul, just the tremendous personality that you got to have in your room. But I know specialists always have a unique personality and swagger to them, but it really seems like you have a great group this year.
Yeah, no, Paul he's a unique guy, but he's a great personality, a great sense of humor, and like you said, a confident cat. So that's always nice to have at that position. But like the whole room is really a lot of fun to coach.
Yes, you need the confidence at that position. And look, I know over the weekend it's great that Paul did punt well, but it would be great if Paul didn't have to punt at all, because it means obviously you're having a lot of success offensively. But still, though, it is important as to talk about Coach Poore. He always says, hey, you do, in a way, want to end a drive every possession you have with a kick, whether that be obviously a PAT, field goal, or even punt. When Paul was put into those tough positions over the weekend, what did you see? What were the biggest takeaways that you had time to go and sit down, watch film with Paul, and that were really big positives?
There was a bunch of positives. You know, that atmosphere for Paul, his first game as a Saluki, you know, flipping the field as many times as he did, 60-yard punts. The distances speak for themselves, but location on those punts were at a high level. So very pleased with that. Obviously, the one we had backed up, just a miss hit there that will get cleaned up. But you know, very pleased with him and how he stepped up in the punting game for us. So.
And there, I mean, I know there's going to be other areas too, but even just on kickoff, I get at the altitude at that level, the ball is going to carry a little bit further than maybe it would in terms of normal conditions. But to even then, on I think 2 of his 3 kickoffs, 1 get touchbacks, and then the one that wasn't due to the unsportsmanlike penalty, still able to get the guy and the returner tackle with inside the 20-yard line. So I'd say job well done on all the kickoffs that Paul even had in the game. And you told me kind of leading into the season that, hey, Paul's improved a lot in terms of his place kicking. Yeah, his punting, he's going to be an asset, but kickoff may arguably be his best.
He's got a strong leg, and it's an easy swing. You know, like those balls were -9 in the end zone. Back in the end zone that been touched back at other places as well. Yeah. And then the one kicked off from the 20. You know, he asked me before that if I wanted a touchback, and like, you're not kicking a touchback, Paul. So I want hang time is what I want, Paul. And so he did get hang time, and that, you know, we feel good with our coverage unit on kickoff there and ball placement, hang time, and all of those things. That was an important rep to even flip the field there. So yeah, all 11 guys did their job on that one.
I wish I had the confidence of, if we were kicking off from the 20, hey, you want a touchback, coach? I think I'll just start, you know.
What's confidence, delusional. I mean, but yeah, no, I'm glad he's a confident kid.
No doubt, which is exactly what that position needs, especially in those type of environments. I'm sure when you look at some of the execution standpoints, from the missed PAT to know you guys try to fake punt an opportunity within the game, those probably drive you a little bit nuts more than the things that you did well. But those are things I know that you guys learn from it. You watch it, get better execution, and move forward as you go throughout the line, starting this weekend against Austin Peay.
We know what we got to fix, and making those adjustments, and a lot of good tape for the guys to learn from in those situations. A lot of situational football there that we have to grow. But the extra point, you know, the whole operation's got to get cleaned up. All 11 guys were off, and so ultimately that's on me. You know, we got to get those guys right. And then, yeah, the fake punt got the look we wanted. Wanted a little shift in momentum there, and
yeah,
just didn't quite execute well enough on that. So, we'll get those things cleaned up for sure.
Well, and it's one of those moments in the game, right, where, and I didn't get an opportunity to talk to Coach Hill about it, but, you're looking for some way to flip that momentum. And if the play absolutely works, everybody's going, man, there you go. Should have done that earlier. All of those things, how it goes when it doesn't go the way you wanted. It's just a frustrating point. I know it led to a short field, but when you're in those type of moments, I mean, had Idaho back in this, back in the playoffs last year, trying to fake punt. I know the opportunity with a penalty flag on that, but there's South Dakota State at home last year. I mean, you guys will try to find those ways throughout the year to whatever it is, where you want to say it's stealing a possession, stealing an opportunity. You want to make sure that everybody's got to defend you at all times throughout the game.
Yeah, I mean, that adds pressure to your opponent to prepare for. But like those situations have to present themselves. You don't ever want to, force those opportunities. Those looks come throughout the game. We feel good about the look, feel good about executing that. That's when we need to take advantage of those opportunities for sure.
Coach Frame, before, we kind of dive into what's next for this team, a little bit just about your background and how you got here to Southern and your connections obviously here to SIU. I mean, SIU's been a part of you for a while now. For those that maybe don't necessarily know how your career trajectory has gone, kind of describe your career trajectory and how much Southern, of course, has been a part of that career trajectory now being the special teams coordinator.
It's a full circle for sure. No, so I'm from Kansas originally, finished up college out there, and, Pat, calling you there, Pat was the reason I'm out here. He was my connection, small town Kansas guy. So had some friends in college that knew Pat's family and everything like that. The coaching profession is crazy and the connections you get, but got in touch with Pat and came out here in 17 and visited the place, and Coach Hill gave me the opportunity to volunteer. So I volunteered and for that year, GA'd here for the next 2, and then kind of started the full-time special teams coordinator, wide receivers, tight ends coach, Division III school in Louisiana, and then Division II school in North Dakota. And then Coach gave me the call last August, which was wild timing. And so we packed up, and now we're back. But I just got a master's degree from here. Really enjoy it here. I don't know, this is my eighth year, and so 5 of those 8 years have been working for or with Coach Hill, which very appreciative and grateful to be here.
It's an area that I do believe that every staff has the goal of being this way, but I ask you this, Coach Frame, in all sincerity, because I get to see it day to day with you guys, just the culture within the coaching staff and how important that is, and why when you do get that call and opportunity, it's a no-brainer, when that call gets made. What's the best part from a coaching perspective of, the hours are going to be long, you're going to be around each other a long time, but what makes you guys look forward to your staff meetings, being in the hall, and being around each other as a staff?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm not going to say any nice things about Coach Clark.
Well, that's an obvious.
So I'm going through who. Coach Mack, obviously, love that guy, but
Coach Rowland, number 1.
Yeah. No, you make. Those are all good points. Like if you're going to be up here for as long as we are, you want to be around people you enjoy working with, and you're not just absolutely miserable. I don't know how you would do it if you are miserable, just as much as we are up here. So there's no, really like levels in the coaching profession is always talked about, but grass ain't always greener when you're working for this good of a staff and head coach. It's a great environment. It's a good family environment. You couldn't ask for anything better.
Talk about your family as well. Obviously continuing to grow as well for you, and what's it been like in terms of continue to explore that from your standpoint? Of course, everyone always says, when you're a coach, you got all these kids that you can be a father-like figure to, but now, of course, you being able to do that personally as well.
Yeah, you got the 2-year-old at home.
That's why he's so refreshed,
he
everybody.
He's yeah. Yeah, it's a ton of fun, man. I don't know how. I mean, really, it's credit to my wife Erica. You know, we're gone all the time, and so she's a teacher here in town. You know, drops them off from daycare, picks them up from daycare, all those things. So you have to, you know, they don't really know what they signed up for when they get into this with us, you know. But you have to have one that understands it and supports you in it, because that's the only way it works. But no, we love it here. This is the closest school that I've worked at that is to her hometown, so which is 8 hours. So that's, you know, we'll take that. You know, I'll definitely take that.
Little victories.
Little
you know, when
victories.
8 hours is the closest.
When I have to tell her August 2nd, like, hey, we might be going back to Southern Illinois. You might not be teaching in North Dakota this year. But it's 8 hours from home, so here we go. That works out.
Well, no doubt. It takes a team for you guys here all together. I know it takes a teamwork at short as well back home, Coach Frame, as I get tongue-tied here on our way out. As we wrap things up here, Coach Frame, when you look towards this weekend, I'm sure a lot like everybody on the team, right? You want to be better execution in terms of all the different things that we've already described. But just in terms of kind of that sense of urgency that Coach Hill was describing earlier in our show, I'm sure that's probably the biggest thing that you want to see from your group as well, is that sense of urgency, that look like we get it, respect the opponent, all that kind of stuff, what you said over the weekend, but ultimately we didn't get the job done, what you guys were able to set out to go do.
We don't want to wait till week 8 to be dominant on special teams. Like, it's got to start now. And so we need to learn, you know, from all the film we got week 1. I feel good about our group, and I feel good about our specialists, but I feel good about our core 4 guys that play on all the units, and even some of our starters who are in 2 or 3 units. So, yeah, like we have in our units, there is, like we're echoing Coach's message, of course, and the urgency and just learning and asking questions so we feel confident in what we have to do this week and from the weeks after that as well.
Coach Frame, appreciate you and Paul, the specialists, being able to join us this week here on Inside Saluki Athletics. And, you know, it was a good start for the specialist group, but we know there's better weekends to come throughout the year. So appreciate the time, Coach Frame. Excited to hit the road again. Let's just get back to it, right? Get back to it this weekend.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, brother.
No doubt. That was Coach Frame joining us. This has been Inside Saluki Athletics, which is brought to you by Pagliai's Pizza of Carbondale. We'll be back next week to recap the Austin Peay game and much more. Big thank you to Ed Allen, to Nick Hill, Paul Gielan, and the coach, Nathan Frame. I am Luke Martin saying so long. We will talk to you next week, Saluki Nation.
This has been Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Pagliai of Carbondale. The